What is going on, everybody? It is Christos here, and today we got a brand new video for you guys. And I'm sorry this one took a long time to make. I've actually had this deck complete for a while now, but I've been playing it, trying to learn it, and so I would get some good footage so I could talk to you about the combos and kind of how to play the deck. And I'm not good at it, I'll admit that. You're going to see a lot of misplays, but yeah. I think I'm going to do a separate video of more like a combo oriented one of just gameplay and talk about some plays and like why I went with them and stuff like that. But for right now, we'll just go through our normal format. So first off, I just want to say thank you guys for all the support. And secondly, let's get right into the deck. So today we got DDDs, different dimensional. Yeah, these guys are interesting. They are, I gotta say, this is really hard to play, but I've been having a blast with it. So, as always, let's get through the card by card, and we'll start out as always. So first, let's start with our hand traps. We are running 3 Maxi. Basically, during either player's turn, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. During this turn, each time your opponent special summons a monster, immediately draw 1 card. And that is each time your opponent special summons a monster, by the way. You just keep drawing cards. Then we have 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Ash Blossom negates, you could discard this card from your hand to the graveyard, and then you can negate that effect. And basically, you can negate effect that adds a card from the deck to the hand, special summon from the deck, and or send a card from the deck to the graveyard. Really great card, definitely worth running 3. It's almost mandatory at this point. Ash Blossom and Maxi are just mandatory cards. Then lastly, for our kind of hand traps, we are running 2 Called by the Grave. Basically, any card that has an effect in the graveyard that's going to activate, you could target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. And if you do, until next turn, its effects are negated, as well as the activated effects and effects of that monster on the field. So, really great card, definitely worth running 2. This card probably should be banned, but it's for right now, it's limited to 2, and we're abusing it. Then lastly, we got 1 Crossout Designator. Crossout is a really good card. Basically, you get to declare 1 card name, banish it from your declared card from your main deck, and if you do, negate its effects. So basically, if your opponent Max C, you could chain Crossout Designator, call Max C, banish it from your deck, and then Max C gets negated. And you could do that for any card. So if you even play in a mirror and they normal summon Kepler, you could just you could Crossout Designator Kepler and stuff like that. It's a really great card, definitely worth running, and yeah, like I said, you could even run like an other hand trap in this deck if you really wanted to. You could cut like, honestly, you could probably cut like the field spell, doesn't really come up too often, and add more cards like, you know, Nibiru, you could add Effect Veiler, whatever hand trap you just want to be protected from, you could add. So with that in mind, that's my hand traps, and let's get into the actual DDD cards. So first one, Kepler. Now, this is going to be a long portion of the video because they have a lot of text and it's going to be a while. So, the Pendulum effect, you're not really going to be caring about too much. But what it is you can't Pendulum summon monsters except DD monsters. The effect cannot be negated, and once per turn during your standby phase, reduce this Pendulum scale by 2. Then destroy all monsters you control with level greater than or equal to the Pendulum scales, except DD monsters. So like I said, that effect's not going to come out too much. So just an FYI, you're using it for its monster effect. Now, its monster effect is that this card is normal or special summon, you could activate 1 of these effects. You can only use this effect of DD Kepler once per turn. You could target 1 DD card you control, return it to the hand, or you could add 1 Dark Contract card from your deck to your hand. You want that second effect. You want to normal summon it, add Dark Contract cards from your deck to your hand, and that's going to be like your main combo piece. That's going to be your main starter in this whole deck. Kepler, you don't underestimate how good this card really is. Now we got 1 DD Necro Slime. Necro Slime is a really good one of. Basically, if this card's in the graveyard, you can fusion summon 1 DDD fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion monsters mentioned on it to your graveyard, including this card. So basically, if it's in the graveyard, you can banish it and 1 other card, and you can fusion summon directly from your graveyard. It's really good, and there are really easy ways to get this card into the graveyard if you need to, so just an FYI. So that's why it's a 1 of. Our next 1 of is DD Lama. If this card's in your hand or graveyard, you could send one DD or Dark Contract card from your hand or face up on the field, except itself, and special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. This is a really good card. And they're all raised to foolish shit really easily. And the point is, if you do, you get to send one of your Dark Contracts face up on the field. They already use the effect, and this is going to be sitting there. You get rid of it, special summon itself. You could then go into a synchro play, or you could go into a link play right away. Really good card. Yeah, like I said, it's really underrated, to say the least. Then we got 3 DD Slime. Slime is really cool. If this card's in your hand, you can fusion summon 1 DDD fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand as fusion materials, including this card. So it's just like Necro Slime, but the difference with Swore is instead of graveyard, it's with your hand instead. So like if you play Kepler and they negate it, with Ash Blossom, whatever the case is, you have backup plays. You can go into Sword Slime right away. Like it's their place you can go around, stuff like that, depending on your hand and what's happening. So this is why this deck is a lot of fun, and it's actually really good. Next, we got 1 DD Cerberus. You're really using this card for its pendulum effect, not really its monster effect. So its pendulum effect is once per turn. You can target 1 DD monster you control, change its level to 4, and if you do, it gains 400 attack and defense. What you care about is changing its monster to level 4, because that allows you to go into some XZ plays. And its pendulum effect, if this card is pendulum summoned from the hand while you control a DD monster, you can target 1 continuous spell card in your graveyard and add it to your hands. It does come up every now and then, but usually the pendulum effect is what matters. Then we got 3 DD Corpinus. The monster effect is really good in this, but the pendulum effect does come up every now and then also. So the monster effect, if this card is a normal special summon, you can send 1 DD or Dark Contract from your deck to your graveyard. So it's a straight foolish burial, and that's what makes it really good. In its pendulum effect, you can't pendulum summon monsters except DD monsters. This effect cannot be negated. Once while this card is in your pendulum zone, you can negate an activation of a spell effect that would affect damage to you, then destroy this card. So basically, if you're about to die by your own Dark Contracts, you could use the effect, negate the effect of Dark Contract from burning you, and then this card gets destroyed, meaning you lose this skill. So it kind of sucks, but like I said, usually the monster effect is what you're using it for, and the monster effect is really good. So you want to run 3 of them. Then we got 2 DD Orthos. Orthos, I'm thinking about actually cutting this down to 1 instead of 2, but you can play with the ratios how you like. So this card's pendulum effect. Once per turn, you can target 1 spell trap card on the field and 1 other DD or Dark Contract card you control and destroy them. So basically, it's as if it's in pendulum zone, you can target 1 spell trap on like your opponent controls and just get rid of 1 of the DD cards or Dark Contract you already use and don't need anymore, and just pop it. So it's decent. Then its monster effect is, when you take battle damage or effect damage, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned to your field, you can't special summon monsters the rest of the turn except fiend type monsters, which is not a bad restriction. So like I said, this does come up every now and then, but it's not too often. It is a level 4 tuner, level 4 tuner, so that part is really good. And then for our best card in the deck, next to Kepler, is Griffin. DD Griffin, it does almost everything for the deck, and I'm not even kidding about that. So its pendulum effect is you can target 1 fiend monster you control. It gains 500 attack to the end phase. For each Dark Contract spell trap with different name currently on your field or in graveyard, then destroy this card. You can only use the effect of Dark Griffin once per turn. You're not caring about that pendulum effect. What you're caring is for the monster effects. If you control a DD monster, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. If this card is pendulum summoned, you can discard 1 DD card or Dark Contract card, draw 1 card. If this card is special summoned from your graveyard, you can add 1 DD card from your deck to your hand, except itself. This card is just one of the best cards in the deck. It's just a straight free special summon if you control a DD monster. One of the main plays is like you want a normal Kepler effect, Gates effect, play Gate, activates effect, search Griffin, special summon Griffin, and at that point you're off to the races. It is stupidly good. One of the best cards in the deck by far. Definitely worth running. Then we got 1 DD Vice. Vice is weird. It's the only way I can really kind of say it. When this card is normal summon, you contribute 1 DD monster, special summon 1 level 7 DDD monster from your deck. During your main phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sit there this turn, you can fusion summon 1 level 8 or higher DDD fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on your graveyard, including this card. That's what this card's really good for, is if you do get it to the field, to the graveyard this turn, you could easily just fusion summon from your graveyard and get Flame King right away. So like I said, it does come up every now and then. Not the best card, but it does have some niche play. Then we got 1 DDD, Oblivion King, Ragnarok. Oblivion King actually has saved my life a couple times with its monster effect. So this card is, if you special summon a DD monster except during the damage step, you can target 1 DD monster in your graveyard. Any battle damage your opponent takes, half for the rest of the turn. Also special summon that monster, and if you do take 1000 damage, you can only use the effect of Ragnarok once per turn. Now the monster effect is where this card is actually kind of cool. If this card is normal special summon, you can target 1 DDD monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use this effect of Ragnarok once per turn. Then once per turn, you contribute 1 other DD monster, then target 1 monster your opponent controls and banish it. That effect, the banish effect, has saved my life quite a bit. Getting this card to the graveyard to special summon it on the effect of like a Flame King is actually really easy. And yeah, like I said, this banish effect has saved my life a couple times. We got 1 Servant Thomas. Thomas is an interesting card during your main phase for the Pendulum effect. During your main phase, you could add 1 face-up DD Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. This actually does come up quite often. That's one of the main reasons why you use this card, and it's a 6 scale. But it's a monster effect. You can target 1 DD card in your Pendulum summon, destroy that card, and if you do, special summon 1 level 8 DDD monster from your deck in defense position, but for the rest of the turn, its effects, if any, are negated. Also, any battle damage your opponent takes is halved. Like I said, the Pendulum effect is the one you're going to be running to use. So, just an FYI. And then, for our last monster, we got 1 DDD Divine Zero King Rage. Dude's name is just ridiculous. This card is good for one reason only. It's a 0 scale. That's it. You want to play 1 just to have that 0 scale. And that's the scales what you see on the card, the blue and red. The high scale and low scale are 0, and that's what you want. And this card is fucking amazing. Its Pendulum effect is if you would take effect damage, you take no damage. If you normal summon a level 5 or higher DD monster, you could do it without tributing. You can only use the effect, each effect of the Pendulum go once per turn. Then its monster effect doesn't really come up, but basically this card declares an attack. If your opponent's life points is 4,000 or less, you can make this card gain. This card can gain attack equal to your opponent's life points, until the end of this turn. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no damage from battles involving this card. You contribute 1 other monster, apply 1 of these effects. This card can attack directly. Your opponent can activate card or effects in your spell or trap zones, or your opponent can activate cards in their hand and or graveyard. In reality, you don't really summon this card that often to use its monster effect. You really use the Pendulum effect more than anything. But usually you're just using this card to scales, just an FYI. Now, for our spells of the deck, we got 1 for 1. This card is amazing. Get send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard, special summon 1 level 1 monster from your hand or deck, and you want Kepler. Simple as that. So you got 4 copies. And now we got 1 Prius Rius map. I'm not a big fan of this card, but it is good. Basically, at the start of your main phase 1, add 1 monster with 0 attack from your deck to your hand, but half your life points. After adding it to your hand, until the end of the next turn after this card was activated, you cannot activate the added monster's effect or the effects of cards with its name until you normal summon that monster or a card with its name. So basically, you could play half your life points to go to 8 to 4, and you could get Kepler or any of the other starters with 0 attack. They will only have 1, and that's Kepler. So basically, you play map, you get Kepler to your hand, then you normal summon Kepler. Kepler's effect, you get gate, and you're off to the races. With this, you basically have 7 copies of Kepler in your deck, by the way. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So like I said, with map, you have a bunch of starters, definitely worth running. Downside, you do lose a lot of life points, so you do want to make it count. And if it gets negated, it sucks. We got one Dark Contract with Patient License. This Dark Contract isn't that good. I'm not a big fan of it. So basically, if your opponent special summons a monster of the same card type, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link, as a DDD monster you control, except during a damage step, you could inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. Also, while the card's on the field, your opponent cannot special summon monsters with the same card type as that special summon monster for the rest of this turn. If this card sits in the graveyard, you could add one DD monster from your graveyard or one face-up DD Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hands. So like I said, it does come up every now and then, but I haven't really used it that much. So it's not my favorite, but yeah. Then we got 3 Dark Contract of the Gate. This is one of the best spells in the deck. Definitely we want to run 3 of them. During your main phase, you could add one DD monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Dark Contract at 8 once per turn. Once per turn during a single phase, take 1,000 damage. So basically with Gate, you could just activate add any DD monster from your deck to your hands. That is Servant, that is Necro Slime, that is Lama, that is Sword Slime, Cerberus, Servant, Orthos, Griffith, and Vice. Like every target we could ever want, depending on what play you need to go into, you have it. So like I said, if you already have Griffin on your hand, if you already have Griffin on your hand, you don't want to add Griffin, you could easily add Sword Slimes that we have fusion plays. You could add, like I said, there's so many fucking weird plays you go to. You could add Savant for more plays because you could Pendulum Summon. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a great card. It adds so much to the deck. Definitely worth running 3. Definitely want to run 3. Our next Dark Contract with the Swamp King. During your main phase, you can fusion summon one Fiend Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. You can only use this effect once per turn. If summoning a DD Fusion monster this way, you can also banish monsters from your graveyard as well. Swamp King is a really good card, definitely worth running one of them. It allows you to fusion summon monsters from your graveyard, and that's really good because basically at that point you could go into your Flame King by banishing stuff from graveyard, or your High Flame King. So like I said, you have a lot of good plays you go into right away with Swamp King. Definitely worth running one of them. And our last card of the deck is DDD Headhunt. Headhunt is really good. It's kind of busted. You can easily searchable in this deck. Basically, if you control a DDD monster, target one face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end phase of the next turn. But its effects are negated. It connects to declare an attack. Also, if a monster is special summoned from the extra deck, it is also treated as a DDD monster. So basically, the idea is if your opponent's popping off and you know the choke point of anything that your opponent's playing, like if your opponent normal summons Alistair, for instance, you can just DDD Headhunt, take the Alistair. It's now on your side of the field. Its effects are negated, and they can't do anything else with it. Like I said, it was a really fun card. Definitely worth running one of them. And that is the whole main deck. Now, for our side, not for our side, for our extra deck, we got 2 Flame King. Flame King is really cool. If another DD monster is special summoned to the field while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can target one DD monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use the effect of DDD Flame King once per turn. If this card is destroyed by battle, or this card's own possession is destroyed by opponent's card effect, you can target one Dark Contract card in your graveyard and add it to your hands. Really busted, really good. We got 1 DDD Oracle. This card I don't go into that much, but you do kind of want it in your deck just for off plays. Any effect that would inflict damage to you makes you gain that much life points instead. If you're about to die from your own Dark Contract cards by taking 1,000, you would just gain that much life points instead. So it's definitely fun. Then we got 1 DD High Flame King, Flame High King. This card is really good. I do like going into it a lot. So basically, if another DD monster is normal special summon to your field while you control this monster, you can target one DD monster in your graveyard and special summon it. You can only use this effect of Flame High King once per turn. Then, once per turn, when a spell / trap card or its effect is activated, quick effect, you can negate the activation. This spell trap negate is really good. That's why I go into it quite a bit. Then we got 1 Curse King Siegfried. Siegfried is a really fun card. During either player's turn, you can target one face-up spell / trap card on the field. That target has its effects negated until the next standby phase. You can only use the effect of DDD Curse King Siegfried once per turn. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, gain 1,000 life points for each dark contract card you control. You want to go in, have one of go into it because it does stop spawn traps. You end board sometimes is ending on Siegfried and High King, so that's 2 spawn trap negates. And then on top of that, if you have Divisor King, you have a monster negate on top of that. So like I said, your inboard does have a lot of articity has a lot of changeability to it depending on what's happening. So it makes it really good. Then we got one Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is one of my favorite synchro monsters. We guys know what this does. Basically, once per turn, you can target one card on the field and destroy it. And then once one of these cards on the field, you can negate the activation of anything and destroy that card. That part, sadly, is not, continuing that as a once of, but it is a one omni negate, and then once per turn, you can just continue destroying cards. Really good card, definitely worth this going into. It's pretty easy to make in this deck, so I do advise running it. Then we have for our XZs, we got one Wave King. Wave King is during either player's turn, you can detach one XZ material from this card. At the end of the battle step, special summon from the graveyard as many monsters destroyed this turn as possible, but during the next phase, take 1,000 points of damage. Now, using this card for this effect, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Dark Contract card from your deck to your hand. You can only use the effect of DDD Wave King Caesar once per turn. Basically, if you could get this card on the field, link it off. At that point, you could add one Dark Contract card from your deck to your hand, and usually you want to add like Swamp King, just an FYI. Or if you don't already have Gate, you add Swamp King. If you already have both of those, then you add the Field Spell. Then, on top of that, depending on any place, you could actually overlay with this card one DDD Marksman King Tail. This card's really interesting. Basically, you could also special summon this card by using a link 4 DD monster you control. So once per turn, during either player's turn, you could, if you took any effect damage this turn, you could detach one XZ's material from this card. Then target one face-up monster on the field, it loses 1,000 attack and defense. If it does, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. If this card's sent to the field to the graveyard, you can send one DD or Dark Contract card from your deck to your graveyard. So yet again, it's an extra Foolish Burial to be able to add. To be able to send any DD you need to the graveyard is really important. Usually, you're gonna be sending Necro Slime or a Lema, depending on your situation, what's coming up. Then we got one DD Wave High King Caesar. This card seems like it would be really hard to make, but you could actually make it pretty easily. There are ways to do that, depending on your hands. Basically, when a spell/trap card or monster effect is activated and includes an effect that special summons a monster quick effect, you can detach one material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Then you can make one other DD monster you control. This card gains 1,800 attack until the end of this turn. If this card is sent from the field to graveyard, you can add one Dark Contract from your deck to your hands. Like I said, depending on your hands, you could easily make this before your 5th summon, and that will stop Nibiru. Just an FYI. And then you stop multiple plays where you could go into other cards. Usually you could end on like High King Caesar, you could end on Flame King, and then you could end on King Decius Machinus. So like I said, you do have a lot of variables. So like I said, this deck has a lot of negates and has a lot of versatility just depending on the opening hands. Then we got one Zeus. Zeus doesn't come up that often. You're usually locked in Fiends quite a bit, but there's sometimes you're not locking in Fiends. If you're not, you have quite a bit of XCs, and being able to punch overlay into Zeus makes it very, very useful. For people who don't know, Zeus is once per turn. Quick effect, you can attach 2 materials from this card. Then send all monsters from the field to the graveyard. Then once per turn, if another card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you could detach one card from your hand, deck, or extra deck to this card as material. Now, the once per turn the detach 2 materials from this card to send all other cards to the graveyard is not once per turn. You can continue doing that. You can activate this effect, detach 2. Your opponent can chain a card, special summon a monster. Then you can detach 2 again. It's not once per turn. It is stupid, but it's a lot of fun. Then lastly, for our XZs, we got Divisor King. Divisor King is really cool. This card has a pendulum effect that doesn't really come up at all, but I'll read it off. The pendulum effect, where you have a card in the in your other Pendulum Zone, you can target one Pendulum monster you control or in your graveyard, special summon that card in your Pendulum Zone. And if you do, place that target Pendulum monster in your Pendulum Zone. You can only use the effect of Device King once per turn. So like I said, you're not using this effect whatsoever. What you're using is the monster effects. Basically, you could also XZ summon this card by using a DDD monster you control as material. So you could transfer materials to this card. So if you have any DDD monster on the field, you could overlay it for this card and you get it on the field really easy. You can only control one DDD King in your monster zone, so you can only have one of these. You can't have multiple. Then once per chain, when a monster card your opponent control activates effect, quick effect, you can either detach 2 materials from this card or destroy 1 dark card, track card you control. And if you do, attach that opponent's card to this card as material. Once per turn during your standby phase, you can place this card in your Pendulum Zone. So it's a straight up monster negate if it counts as a chain. So if your monster activates an effect that could be chainable, so if it's like activates this check as chain link 1, you can negate that. If you could actually steal that card and attach it to it. So just an FYI, some effects don't chain. It's really weird, but the card does come up and it's really, really good. Then last we got 3 Gigamash, Gigamash. This is a Link monster, Link 2. It's one of the best cards DDD's ever gotten, and you really need to run 3. There's really no exception. If this card is special summon, you can activate this effect. You can not special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except DD monsters. Also place 2 DD Pendulum monsters with different names from your deck in your Pendulum Zones. So basically you can link this card and you can set your scales however you want. Depending on what you need, you could set it from your deck to your Pendulum Zones right away. You do take 1000 damage, but you don't give a shit about that. If this link summon card is destroyed by battle with the opponent's attacking monster or the opponent's card effect while it's in your owner's monster zone, you can special summon 1 DD monster from your extra deck or graveyard defense position. You're not caring about that. You're literally saying your skells, and that is it. It's amazing. So like I said, your skells usually is like you want to set, 0 because that's a 0 scale, and then you could set anything up. Mostly, sometimes I've been doing Cerberus. So that way you can now special summon anything from level 1 to level 5, or Pendulum Summon, from 1 to 5s. Sometimes you might need a higher, so like I said, it really depends on what you want to do. Sometimes I have done Silver Thomas, Cerberus is a good one. Every now and then I did Kepler, depending on what I was needing. But yeah, like I said, usually it's 0 and Cerberus is the 2 you really want, depending on what you got. Every now and then, Oblivion King's also really good to go into. And that's it, guys. That's the whole deck. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get into the gameplay footage, and you guys are going to see how terrible I am. But like I said, I hope you all enjoy, and thank you guys so much, and let's get into it. Alright, so this first one, if you remember my format, it's kind of changed. I do the first deck kind of casual, then everything else is going to be in ranked in gold and or diamond. So this first hand, this first deck, I'm against kind of pseudo empty jar. My opponent is going to go straight into Gown Gannett. So basically, at the start, he normal summon, he special summon Photon Trasher, and since he has level 4 on the field, he could now special summon Hat Tricker. Then he's going to overlay them, and he's going to exit them into Ground Granite. Ground Granite's effects are going to go off to get 1 rock monster. I do negate this with infinite permanence because I don't want him to continue going. I didn't know what he was playing at this one moment, but this has been an interesting deck. And at this point, he just ended his turn. Cool. So I activate Gate. Gate's going to allow me to, I play Gate, activate it, and allow me to go to my cards. I go into Savant. Savant's going to allow me to dodge Lama. Lama's going to get rid of, so like I said, I kind of should probably got rid of my Dark Contract. I'm still learning this deck at this point. I do get rid of Oblivion King from my hand, and now I got Llama and Savant on the field. At this point, I'm going to link them off into DDD Abyss King. DDD Abyss King is going to set my scales. I do get another Savant, and I get Servant Thomas. And at this point, I'm going to overlay them into Divisor King, and I set Callbide. I really should have attacked. Yet again, this is me misplaying. I'm really stupid. I hope you guys can enjoy my stupidity. At this point, he's going to add one rock monster from his deck to his hand. He adds Morphing Jar. He sets one, activates Book of Taiyu. I'm going to max see this because, yeah, we'll see what happens. So at this point, Book of Taiyu is going to flip up Morphing Jar's effect. I'm going to steal that and get it into my my possession, so that way he cannot continue chaining this. Yeah, at this point we do draw, but my opponent concedes because he does have Morphing Jar to continue to abuse. So like I said, that was a fun one, and I enjoyed it a lot. So with that, let's get into the next one. Thank you so much. All right, so this next deck is versus Skull Servants. It's a 50 card variant, which I was confused about because usually I've seen 60 card Skull Servant decks around. But regardless, I really do like Skull Servant. I end up going first. I don't have the best hand. I do activate Swamp. I misplayed like crazy. And the misplay is I put Swamp in my Pendulum Scales. I'm an idiot. I've recognized my mistake right away. At this point, I'm going to fusion off to High Flame King, so I got a spell and Trap Negate. I activate Servant. Servant's going to allow me to dump a card, and then Flame King is going to allow me to revive. I misplayed yet again. Flame King should have been Chain Link 1 to revive a card, then Servant should have been Chain Link 2 to dump a card, but like I said, I'm just an idiot. Me misplaying this game is just so bad. I do link off to Abyss King. I forgot about Flame King yet again. I told you I'm an idiot. I do go into Flame King, and I'm going to X these over, and hoping this is going to be enough at this point. Like I said, I'm an idiot. This has not been doing well. My opponent activates Right Princess, and he now he normal summons Unizombie. Unizombie effect is chainable, so I'm going to chain into that to steal it so he doesn't have that on the field. I do get rid, so opens up my Pendulum Scales, finally. At this point, he's going to go to a Skull Servant plays. He can't do anything, though, at the moment, and he just sets one. I'm feeling really confident, so we'll see what ends up happening. My standby phase, I do link off 2 of them for Abyss King, and at this point, I'm finally able to set my scales. Then Flame King effect's going to activate, and I do revive my fusion. He activates Hand Destruction. I'm just going to allow that to go through because I don't see why I should get rid of it. He gets rid of 2 cards, Red Eyes Zombie Dragon and Plague Spreader, and then I got Crossout Designator and DD Save It. So this is actually doing pretty good. I get back my Flame King, and I'm setting my scales from 0 to 10. I activate Servant. Get Llama effects going off. I'm going to get rid of my Giga Mash to special summon that back. At this point, I go back into Giga Mash. Flame King is effect, so when I activate, I do revive my own Giga Mash. Strange up to attack, and at this point, I just attack the game. So yeah, that was a lot of misplaying on my part. Oh my god, that was embarrassing. Yeah, like I said, this was bad. But like I said, I do appreciate playing against Skull Servant. That was a lot of fun. Let's get into the next duel. Alright, this last duel here is against Ancient Gear. Ancient Gear is really good for the simple fact of being able to OTK like crazy. You don't want Ancient Gear to go second, because if it does, it could just set up a board that could easily kill you. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to activate Dark Contract. Dark Contract is going to allow me to get any card. I do get Save It yet again. Save It effect is going to activate when I send one Lama. Lama's effect when we get rid of my Dark Contract to special summon itself. And at this point, I'm going to Pendulum Summon. My Link Summon, my bad. My Abyss King, and that's going to set my scales. I do get Griffin, and then Save It. At this point, I'm going to... Sorry, I'm talking too much. At this point, I activate Griffin. I put my scales. I got Griffin and Save It. At this point, I'm going to use Save It's Pendulum. Then I'm going to Pendulum Summon Griffin and activate Griffin's effect, targeting Abyss King, and Griffin will get destroyed. Save It's effect is going to activate, bring Griffin to my hands. I really didn't need to do this since I already had Griffin in my hands, but it happens. Then I go into Wave King. Wave King, I'm going to link off again to Abyss King, so I get Wave King's effect. Wave King's effect is going to activate. I do get Swamp King in my hand. I play Swamp King, activates effect. I'm going to Fusion Summon. I do get DDD Oblivion King to the graveyard, which turned out to be not a misplay. It really did save my life, and at this point, I'm going to go into DDD King. Then High King effect is going to bring back High Caesar. And then I'm going to set my Call by the Grave, and I go into Marksman. And at this point, I end my turn. So I'm pretty confident. My opponent plays Ancient Gear Castle. He plays Fortress. Then he plays Catapult. He uses Catapult's effect on Castle to destroy it. Then at this point, he goes in Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound. And then he activates Ancient Gear Wyvern. At this point, I'm screwed. He gets Ancient Gear Fusion. He plays Ancient Gear Fusion. Then he's going to get rid of every card in the, like, everything. To go into Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. And at this point, Chaos Ancient Gear Giant is going to attack all my monsters and then inflict piercing. It's unaffected by spell and traps. I just chain Call by the Grave. I think I lost here. Oh, I was thinking I just lost. I was like, I'm just gonna, play a spell trap card for my daily. At this point, he attacks my High King, gets rid of it. He attacks Marksman, gets rid of it. Then he attacks my Divisive King. At this point, I'm down to literally at this point 600 life points when it's my standby phase. I'm like, fuck, this sucks. Orthos is going to activate my hand. I took battle damage, so I special summon himself. I'm knocked into Fiends now, but I don't care. Griffin's going to special summon itself. Then at this point, I'm going to link into Gigamash. Then I'm going to activate Servant to add Orthros back to my hand. I'm going to activate Slime. I'm going to Fusion Summon into Flame King. And at this point, I go into DD Divisor. Flame King's effect is going to activate and it's going to bring back High Flame King. Then I'm going to Dark Contracts. I'm going to get rid of 2 cards. I get rid of my Source Slime and Abyss King to go into Oracle. That way I don't die my next turn if I survive. Then Flame King is going to activate to get me Oblivion King. This point, Oblivion King's effect is going to activate. I do get rid of one of my cards to banish his Chaos Ancient Gear, and now I attack for game. I don't know how I won that one. If all due respect, that Ancient Gear deck really should have killed me. That was a fun game, and let's get into one more. I hope everybody's enjoying. Alright, this is the last duel of the video. I hope you guys are all enjoying this. This has been a lot of fun. So our last duel here is against Blackwing, surprisingly. Blackwing's a lot of fun, and my opponent's going to end up going first. So he actually kind of bricked. I felt bad for him. He just sets 2, and that was it. It's now my go. I do not have the best hand, but I'm going to make it work. I do activate I normal summon Kepler. Kepler effects are going to go off. He activates Psyframe. Yep. This is what I'm talking about. This is not going to go well. I activate Maxi to get rid, then he called by the Grave. I'm like, this fucking sucks. Okay. So I'm down a lot of cards now. But so is he. We both used a lot of our resources, so we're going to see what ends up happening. Maxi is negated. Gear Psyframe comes out. Now he has Frame and Driver. Kepler effects get destroyed. I'm activating Spore Slime. So I activated Spore Slime in my hand. I misplayed. I really should have sent Necro to the graveyard. But yet again, it's fine. So now I got one High Flame King. Sword is going to activate. I do banish it to summon the Necro Slime. Then High King effects are going to activate, bringing back the Vice. Then I'm going to link into Abyss King. Gigamash effects are going to go off. I'm going to get some scales. I get 0. And then I got Cerberus on the field. At this point, I'm going to Pendulum Summon, save it. Then I'm going to activate Necro in my Necro Slime in my graveyard to go into Flame King. Then I'm going to go into Device King. Cerberus effect is going to make Kepler level 4. No reason I did that. I just wanted more damage on the field at the end of the day. So at this point, I'm going to attack over his 2 Psyframe cards. And I'm going to attack 400 and 3,000. Then I end my turn. My opponent goes. I have a monster effect and a spell and trap card negate. He activates Monster Reborn. I let this go through. I don't want to negate that just yet. He goes to the Psyframe Driver. Then he attacks my Kepler. I don't really care about that. He actually tributes it and then sets. He really did brick hard. I go right back to Kepler. Kepler effect. I do get a Dark Contract. I did Pendulum Summon Ash Blossom. Dark Contract to negate, so I'm going to give me Griffin. Then I'm going to special summon Griffin here. to my side of the field. Then at this point, I'm going to synchro off into Baron DeFleur. Baron DeFleur's effect's going to activate, popping a card. I can get rid of his monster, and it was Blackwing Smooth the Poison Wind. At this point, I had game, and my opponent just concedes. This was the stupidest deck ever. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for the support. It's been truly amazing. If you guys like the deck, please leave a thumbs up. And if you guys have any questions, please leave it down in the comments below. If you guys want me to do a separate video on this deck about more combos, more plays, please do. Other than that, I'll link a website down below with like a bunch of different more combos that I didn't do in this video, depending on starting hands. If you want to go to that website, feel free to. The link will be down in the description. Other than that, have a good night, everybody, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Take care.